Arsenal is like everyone's favorite pro right now, and for good reason. The man is incredibly entertaining on his Twitch and YouTube channel, as well as being one of the best players in the world. He is also probably the most requested pro player from the last episode in this series. So, today, we are going to be looking into how he plays, the aspects of his gameplay we can learn from, and what kind of playstyle Arsenal typically uses. As always, let me know in the comments who you want me to cover next in this series. The link to Arsenal's socials are in the description if you don't already follow him, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get straight into it. So, starting off, we need to discuss his playstyle. Arsenal has a really interesting and somewhat unique playstyle. It feels like the perfect mixture of ground and aerial plays, while also switching from aggressive to passive in no time at all. He knows when to slow down, when to speed up, when to stay grounded, and when to take the ball into the air, and his mechanics are going to back him up every single step of the way. But despite this, the main thing I want to focus on is his tendency to play aggressively in all game modes. Arsenal has to be one of the most aggressive players I have ever seen, and honestly, I think way more people need to start bringing this into their own gameplay. He'll challenge anything, push and pressure at all times, and always seems to be in the perfect spot to demo his opponents. If he isn't the last man, and sometimes when he is the last man, he'll push the ball. He doesn't allow his opponents to get control of the ball, and he pressures them to take touches that will slow them down or hinder their play. This style of play, especially in 3v3s, is incredibly effective because even if you don't hit the ball, even if they push it the side of you or flick it over the top of you, you are temporarily putting them under pressure and doing what is called forcing. Now, forcing in Rocket League is when you pressure an opponent and force them to give away possession of the ball, or force them to temporarily give up control of that ball. And this often happens when an opponent flicks the ball over the first man and ends up giving it to one of the other players who are waiting behind that first man. This does, however, rely on proper timing, spacing, and rotations by all players on your team. Now, there are things you can do that don't take an entirely coordinated team, as I know they aren't always easy to come by, and that is to simply bump, demo, and stay active in the offensive half of the field. When Arsenal goes for a play and it doesn't work, sometimes, yes, he'll turn, rotate back, and go through the standard motions of rotations in threes, but more often than not, he is aware of everyone's position on the field and thinks to himself, if I stick around and I try to disrupt the opponent's line of defense, do we gain an advantage? You need to start doing this too. If you can't score, that's fine, but if you're in a position to bump or demo a defender, you have instantly made the game a 2v3 or put them out of position and stop their defensive rotations. It's an aspect of the game that Arsenal has himself said that when referring to Grand Champ lobbies, if you can demo at this rank, you can score. And that's when people are actually somewhat rotating and can defend. Now, I know not all of you are at this Grand Champ level of play, but bring this highly aggressive playstyle into your own games at any rank, and I promise you will see results. You should always be looking to make a play. If you can't pressure the ball, see if you can pressure the opponent. And if you can't, then feel free to rotate back and get into the normal rotation. There is a catch though, because I know a lot of you are going to get caught out by this. I mentioned earlier that you want to stay active in the offensive half of the pitch, but this does not mean just chasing down demos the entire time and blatantly disregarding the play. You should only look to make these plays if it benefits you and your team, not just because you don't have the ball at that time. This is where Arsenal's passive playstyle kicks in. He can be patient, defensive, wait out the plays until he sees the moment to start his own attack, and then if it fails, he continues that aggression to help his teammates have an easier chance of a follow-up shot. Everything works in unison. Once you take away one aspect, it all falls apart. You play too aggressively without ever getting back and defending, and you're going to be predictable and easy to avoid while your teammates are stuck in a 2v3. Now, on the other side of this, if you play too passively without ever really pressuring your opponent, you're going to find yourself constantly being bombarded with shots towards your net, as your opponent's going to have time to set up and play the game to their own pace. Stopping your opponent from playing their own game and playing the game they're comfortable with is the most effective way to defend. Disrupt what they're used to, and you're going to find yourself having much better opportunities on net once they're going to be out of position and out of rotation. And although it's easier said than done, you want to find yourself a nice middle ground playstyle and change up the tempo to fit what is needed in that moment. The best way to go about doing this is to play with the party. You can make callouts and discuss what needs to happen and what you're doing with every play, which is going to help you to identify where you can help your team with an offensive bump or pressure. But I know that not everyone has a team they can play with. The other way is to watch over your replays and look for those moments where it could have been beneficial for you or for your team to pressure your opponent or to try to force out these shots by being the first man and early challenging. Now, this whole thing is situational and highly dependent on your rank, because in some of the lower ranks, people aren't going to be comfortable dribbling the ball, which means they won't have potential to flick the ball over you, which means you should be free to challenge them with less to worry about. But it's kind of for you to decide. If you think the timing is right, go for it. If it doesn't work out, then you know for next time. But ultimately, the one thing you need more than anything for this to work is what we're going to discuss next. Arsenal's mentality when it comes to Rocket League can be described using one word: confident. He is absolutely sure of himself with every single thing he does. His early challenges that people would normally be very hesitant of, he goes in ready and already assumes he's won it before the challenge has even happened. Sure, he might miss every now and then and his call might not be the best that it could have been in that moment, but he's always 100% confident about it. Even if you make mistakes and make bad decisions in the game, or you mess up and go for something you shouldn't have, if you're confident in that decision at the time, you are only helping yourself in the future. Put it this way: if you spend 100 hours being hesitant about everything and playing slowly and playing passively because you aren't sure of your decisions, at the end of that 100 hours, you will have learned nothing about your playstyle. Now, if you instead spend those 100 hours being confident in every single thing you do on the field, all your successes and all your mistakes, by the end of it, you will have narrowed down what was good to go for and what wasn't. And from there, you'll learn what not to go for again. You start to condition yourself to learn your bad habits and to remove them from your playstyle once you start thinking of your gameplay as playing at 100%. You play your best and still make mistakes? Then you know what to stop doing from there on out. You don't play your best and make mistakes, you make excuses. Change up your mentality, focus on being all in on every single play, being confident in everything, and slowly over time, you will start to iron out all the small flaws in your gameplay. Unfortunately, when it comes to the mentality side of Rocket League, it is very hard to give you a specific way to train this. The only thing I can really say is don't worry about your rank because it's only going to upset you on off days. Instead, focus on bettering yourself and making sure you're just trying to improve. Rank doesn't matter as long as you're improving, because over time, you will have improved enough that you'll rank up anyway. Rocket League is a mental game. The faster you treat it like one, the faster you will see results. Lastly, let's talk about Arsenal's mechanics. Now, Arsenal has incredible mechanics, all around one of the best in the world. The difference between him and some of the other pros we've mentioned in the past is that his gameplay isn't aerial based, and therefore, these aerial based mechanics aren't as big a factor in his gameplay as they are with players like Justin or Joyuz. Mechanics wise, Arsenal has a very balanced blend between the ground and the aerial game. He can dribble defenders like it's nothing and also take the ball into the air and go for what I'm assuming at this point is his favorite move, an air dribble bump. This blend makes him very unpredictable. But because it isn't as aerial dependent as some of the other pros, you might find that you have an easier time learning from Arsenal's gameplay than you would with some of the others. You can develop all your mechanics in ones. That's a given, but I think the one thing that you can't really develop in ones that Arsenal performs exceptionally well is his ability to read the ball off the wall and control it, whether that's in the way of a shot or a pass to a teammate. His mechanics might not be exceptional in the way that people idolize people that can pull out 5 flip resets, but he excels in a way that high-level ranks and pro matches need him to. Reading the wall bounces, having incredibly quick recoveries, and being comfortable on the ball at all times. The best way to go about practicing mechanics is almost always free play and ones, but that's been said enough and I assume you're getting really bored of that by now. So, you can also try jumping into unranked 3s matches and forcing yourself to challenge the ball every single time it goes into the air. You'll get better at controlling your car in the air, hitting it either towards net or towards another player, and you're going to be challenged for it, so you're going to have to get used to going up with speed. You can also try this in ranked if you feel like it, but if you're not all that comfortable with an aerial-based playstyle, you will more often than not miss the ball and end up putting your team in rough situations. Play it safe. Try unranked before you get two teammates who end up getting mad at you the entire game.
My teammate's so confident! Go! Oh my gosh! Hella confident! You mad cute for that.
So, those are the 3 aspects of Arsenal's gameplay that I think you can learn from no matter what rank you are. Once again, make sure to leave a comment letting me know which pro player you'd like me to cover next. I always have a lot of fun watching these, going over a whole lot of replays and learning from some of the best in the game. If you don't already, please make sure to go follow Arsenal on his socials, which are linked in the description, and while you're there, come check me out on Twitch as well, as we stream every single day. So, that's all from me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.